everybody, and welcome to another episode of A Little Something Extra with me, Nancy Gianni, and my daughter,
the greatest GiGi Gianni. Whoop whoop.
Whoa, the greatest GiGi Gianni. Whoop whoop. And we also have our executive producer, Franco Gianni.
Yay.
You mean the greatest Franco Gianni?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Is your name on this podcast, Franco?
No.
Do you have a Playhouse, Franco?
No.
Are you famous?
No.
Yeah, I think so. I'm the greatest GiGi Gianni. Whoop whoop.
Whoa, okay, well.
Okay, whatever.
I guess-
let's just get to the episode. I don't need to deal with you being the greatest all the time. It's the story of my life.
I guess she told you. Today's episode is all about differences and how if you take the time to recognize and acknowledge something or someone, it can really change your perspective and lead to pure acceptance. Can you imagine the world being totally accepting, which is our GenG world that we all want to live in? If we can change societal perceptions, we can really get us to that place of total acceptance. So with the differences, I think the one thing that we need to do is just bring awareness to that differences are okay. And differences are not scary. We need to change everybody's perspective. We need to change society's perspective that what is perfection? Why does everybody have to be exactly the same? Differences are beautiful. And I think that people just need to understand that, to accept everybody as they are. Just because you've been told or seen something one way doesn't mean it always has to be that way.
The more you commit to understanding these different situations and perspectives, the more broader sense of the world you're going to get and the better understanding of the world and the people that live in it. I mean, it's honestly like seeing differences and stuff, it's like learning a new language. I mean, when you hear it for the first time or when you see a difference for the first time, it may kind of seem impossible to like understand and conceptualize, but over time, the more you're exposed to it, the more you hear it, the more you're going to learn. And then eventually, out of nowhere, you're not going to see those differences. It's just going to come naturally. It's like that language. You're just going to start speaking it because the more you're exposed to it, the more you're just going to pick up and learn. So, and I really think that's just how people need to kind of view it. It's just
and
understand.
I think when you're learning that new language, you have to embrace it first. Because, I think about you guys when you were in school and you're like, I'm not doing good in Spanish. I hate this class. I hate that.
I didn't go to Spanish for 3 months.
Right?
I know.
See?
I hated it.
So that you were resisting. You were resisting that change. And then once you embrace it and you want to learn it, it comes to you naturally because you opened up your mind. And for differences, you can open up your heart. So I think that is really important to start speaking the universal language of acceptance. That's the most important thing that we can be.
Universal language of acceptance. I like that.
Yes. And I think today our guest, Meeka Caldwell, is an amazing example of that. And her wanting to spread her message of acceptance of her son with Down syndrome and also being a Black child with Down syndrome. She could not find one book. Not one book with a child of color in the Down syndrome. It's hard enough to find a book on Down syndrome for kids.
Seriously, yeah.
So not only finding a book on Down syndrome, but with children of color.
Yeah.
So her son stood out even more and not really knowing what to do. And she continued to research. She said, and this was years ago when her son was a baby. And she was like, I don't want him starting school without a book about him and who he is. And finally did that and was able to launch that book last year. And now since another one, and it's just really eye-opening. I know we carried that book in every single GiGi's Playhouse because there was no other books that we can get that represented that population, and why not?
And I think it's also just really important to have that kind of stuff out there because it's that exposure. And we talk about it in the interview, and we'll get further into it when that interview comes up. But it's just so interesting that when you just that exposure is so important, and that's why it's something that needs to start happening more in the media, especially it's great that it's happening with so many different marginalized groups right now because as we see, but yes, it's still missing out on a massive minority group around the world because people with special needs are the only ones that are minorities in every culture that they're in. So that
speaks volumes. And
exactly. So the fact that there's that lack of, I guess, exposure and appreciation and understanding of those differences is why we are in the spot in society where it's not necessarily even being called upon when everything else is. And not to put anything else down, because there are very big social movements that need to happen and are happening, but this is one that's being left out. And I think that her exposing that is not even exposing that, but just trying to make those steps forward is a big piece in getting this change to happen.
Yeah, and I think it hurts more now the second time around. Like, I feel like, oh my gosh, when change was starting to happen and groups were starting to step up and people were starting to listen, I'm like, thank you, God. It is finally our chance. It is finally our chance for our kids to have a voice.
Can I do my question now?
You can do your question in 1 minute. But for our kids to have a voice. And then to see that it's still not in the disability area. We're still able to do all these. We're still able to use the R word without consequences. We are still able to do all these, terminate full-term babies just because of a Down syndrome diagnosis. Organ transplants aren't available for individuals with disabilities or Down syndrome. How can that be? How could we continue to knock this population down and not pick them up? So I'm just really excited that she's just bringing awareness to a kind of, a double. She's bringing awareness to our disability and to the lack of products.
People of color,
for people of color in
sure.
in the disability world. So not only do we have the disability world that's sorely lacking in resources.
No.
Now we have this, and I love that she's filling that void. So what do we got for a GenG shout out today, Frank?
Well, I know Gigi is getting a little upset that she's being skipped over. So I know Gigi has a question about acceptance. So what do you got for us, Gigi?
What does acceptance have to do with a little something extra?
What does acceptance have to do with a little something extra? That's what a little something extra is all about. It's about finding our little something extra and sharing it with the world so they could become more accepting. I mean, that's what this show is all about, showcasing you, right?
Right.
And you having Down syndrome, and that we want people to accept everybody as they are, and finding their superpower to help them find that in themselves.
Yeah, and I think...
I don't really have a good answer, but...
No, it's okay. And I thought it was good. And then on top of that too, Gigi, I mean, everyone's different in their own way. I mean, people are different regardless if you have a diagnosis or not. And I mean, regardless of what you look like appearance-wise. I mean, everyone's different in their internally. And I think when it comes to a little something extra, people are finding those differences internally and finding the things that make them who they are within them. And by doing that, it allows them to channel this inspiration and motivation toward wanting to bring that little piece of them and bringing it to the forefront and showcasing it and making it that big piece of them that is their superpower. That's something extra. And so yeah, Gigi, I think it has everything to do with acceptance, has everything to do with your something extra, and it's accepting who you are and embracing that. And I think that's a big piece for people to kind of understand.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do the GenG Shoutout first?
This episode's GenG Shoutout goes out to all the different advocates in the world. So advocates, in my opinion, are soldiers to those who are seen different. So they're the ones who take it upon themselves to help in spreading the word on key issues or causes that we're trying to get people to recognize, understand, and acknowledge. And we are calling them out because they're the fighters. It's not easy to gather the world around your mission, and I think you know this. I mean, it's hard. You got to push. But you continue to keep moving until your voice is heard. And because there's no other option. I mean, instead of actually just giving up on your dream of pushing whatever this thing is you believe in, you can't give up. And that's the thing that inspires people the most to then join your mission, because you don't stop. And so all of you that possess those little something extras out there that are using it to change the world, keep doing you and keep pushing. And we're going to keep giving you shout outs because you're the ones that are changing the world.
Change makers, that's right. Mm-hmm. Today, our guest is amazing. She is a super mom. She is a mother, an advocate, an author, and she has taken upon herself in creating a better world for her son to live in. And we are so beyond excited, aren't we, Gigi?
Yes.
To welcome Anian's mom, Meeka Caldwell.
Thank you so much, Anian.
Anian, why can't I get his name right? It's such a beautiful name, and I continue to get it wrong. Anian. I got it. All right, now I will get it right the rest of the time.
Promise?
Yes, I promise.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's all right.
So how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's a good day. It's the weekend. I have a 3-day weekend coming up. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. The organization I work for is awesome, and they are giving us every single Monday off in the month of April for Self-Care Day.
What?
I'm taking it. I love it. I love
Oh,
it.
that is fantastic. Well, tell us a little about yourself. What goes on in your family? Why these Mondays are so special and sacred for you? Because you lead a busy life. So tell us about your family, your life, and what's going on.
Yeah, it is very busy here. So it's my husband and I, and we have 6 kids all together. We have 3 big ones and 3 little ones. So our big ones are, let me get this right, they are 24, 23, 20, and then our little ones are 10, almost 9, and almost 7.
Oh my goodness.
So their birthdays are this month. So yeah, extra busy. And the Mondays, honestly, I just like 3-day weekends. And like I said, our organization gave us Mondays off just for self-care. So I appreciate that because we're trying to do the work from home, school from home, everything else from home, and juggle all of it.
It's a lot.
Write these books. So it's busy all the time. But that's what we are. I mean, I think if it wasn't busy, I'd be a little bit bored.
Right.
I think I can relax and take time for myself. But if it wasn't all these things happening, I was like, what's next? What do we have to do?
Yeah.
Just busy. So, yeah. I know you're kind of the same.
Cut from the same cloth, girl. I'm exactly the same way, and so is my family. We're always, if there's nothing going on, we have to make something happen. Like we live in chaos, and it's just awesome. It's fun, and we thrive on it. It's what we do.
Focus on podcast.
Okay, she says I need to focus on the podcast. Okay, sorry, Gigi. See, because I see you and I talk to you like a friend and like a fellow mom, and I love connecting with other moms. And it's amazing, and you're doing such an amazing job in bringing diversity to Down syndrome and bringing these books. I mean, these were so needed, and what a time. You know, you were doing this before everything blew up last year. I mean, you felt this need for years. You felt that void, and you wanted to change that. And that's what I love about your book. It wasn't like, oh, there's commotion going on around this right now. I'm gonna do it now. You were doing it before that. And that's what makes it so much more special to me. And I love the books. I love both of them. Now last time I talked to you, you only had one. And we actually, I don't know if you guys know, yes, we actually purchased these for every GiGi's Playhouse location. And we want to continue to do that because the reason, we want diversity in our playhouses. We want to be able to have that stuff. And you're finally giving us the products that we can do that with. So cheers to you, sister. I am so beyond proud of you and what you're doing. And the second book, amazing. Gigi has it over there. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited to start the third book. These were, like you said, something that I wanted to do for a very long time. And since I was pretty much when he was born. He started school when he was 2 years old, so I noticed that we didn't have any books to take to school. We didn't have any books to share with the children. We just didn't have anything. It was very difficult to find representation in anything. And so I was like, this can't just be it. We have to do something. And I'm not an author. Like, I didn't start out like, oh, I have all my author friends or all my nothing. I just started out saying, can somebody help me? I don't know how to start. I can write a story, but I need someone to edit it, to illustrate it. So it just started from a journey a long time ago. And I'm so excited that it's been received so well. And I was just at our GiGi's Playhouse in Annapolis this past Wednesday because Anian participates in the Anian Speech and Language program.
Excellent.
I love the program. I love Loyola. Have a fondness for Loyola that's doing it at our location. And I love being able to be in there and know that each facility, each location has a book that just warms my heart. And they always ask about it. And he always recognizes himself on the cover. And I'm just like, I didn't have a number before, like, ooh, what do I want to stop at? But I'm thinking like 10. I want to do like 10. I want to have like a nice set.
Yeah.
Buy a box set book. I want to do that.
For
So
all ages. And it'll be great. I want to, again, keep them in our playhouses, but I want to get them in our schools. I want to get them in the community. That's where the change happens. You know, when we have them in the playhouse, you couldn't be in a more accepting place than a GiGi's Playhouse. You know what I'm saying? But then we got to get them in the schools. We got to get them out for the community to see. And that I would love to somehow help you do that. So we have a lot of work to do, girl. We are going to be working. We got to partner up and really get this going.
yeah, I definitely agree. The schools, the libraries, the doctor's offices, the therapy offices, all of those. And I have some wonderful supporters who actually buy the books, get to ship them to libraries. I had a coworker who bought several, and it's the libraries in like Illinois, it's the library there, it's the library in like 3 other states that they decided to go ahead and send because they had affiliations with the library.
I love it.
Much, and I have another mom who sends the books. So really, any place that she sees there is a need, she's like, Meeka, we're getting 2 more books, we're getting 3 more books to send them. And I am just so excited. And we even have some people getting the books that are not even in the country. I had a talk with a mom from Ghana who,
Yeah.
who really their child and the children there. And I'm like, yeah, let's go worldwide with it. I love it so much.
100%. Oh, that is awesome. Well, we will keep trying to get this word out with this book. And actually, now that we have GiGi's at Home, we are serving families in 50 countries. So we got to get that book up there on GiGi's at Home, too. Let them see it there. Okay, GiGi's like, focus on the podcast. Okay, fine, I'm sorry. All right. Okay, she has a question.
And Anian is so cute. How old is he?
So he's 6. He's going to be 7 on April 29th.
His birthday's coming up.
Birthday
Well,
boy.
tell him I said happy birthday to him.
I will tell him. He loves every celebration about him. So,
I think I might have somebody like that, too.
yeah.
Are you done?
I'm done. I'm sorry.
What is his favorite things to do?
So he loves playing with his sisters. His sisters are a little older than him, and he's still like the little brother. So he loves when he gets a chance to go into their room and play with them and all their toys. Loves playing with his dog. We have a dog, Sasha, who's an American bully, and he loves playing with Sasha. He loves the pool. That's why I wait until somehow things change for COVID, because he loves getting into the water. That's like our summer activity, and I'm still waiting on that. Like, let's do that so he can have fun. But he just really loves running around, being outside, playing with his toys. He's very, very, very active.
So now this is one story. Like, I know about the books, I know about all that, but I don't really know anything around Anian's diagnosis or his birth. Did you know beforehand how it was on your family? You know, that just your backstory.
Anian was my 4th child, and he was diagnosed when I was 15 weeks pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, because of, advanced maternal age, I think I had to go in anyway. I was on bed rest for my child before that. So it was already like factors. It was already me going to the doctor like every week. And then when they decided to do the usual test that they do for everyone, I didn't feel any other type of way. I just thought, oh, okay, let's just do the finger prick or whatever we need to do. And I wasn't expecting anything, honestly, because my experience, I had 4 kids. I mean, I'm having,
Right.
Okay, this is just routine. And I remember them saying, oh, you have, I can't even remember the number, a 1 and whatever change. So I'm like, oh, okay. I still was thinking anything. And then I had started a brand new job. And I was on the 2nd week of that job, and I was pregnant. I started the job when I was pregnant.
Wow.
And they called me at the job. And I was like on my way out. And they said, okay, well, the test came back, and, we suspected he has Down syndrome. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't even know what this means. But okay, like, it was a shock because I hadn't met anyone with Down syndrome, especially Black people with Down syndrome. And I just didn't know. But the funny thing was, my job, I was in HR for organizations that employ people with disabilities on all types of federal government contracts. So I was like, okay, I'm here. And then it's like, there's something in this. And I did opt for the amniocentesis because I'm a planner. Like, I just want to know for sure.
Right.
And found out for sure. Again, it was just another phone call, but just to come into the office, and it wasn't very positive. Our experience, and I think that's a similar one with a lot of moms that I've talked to, a lot of parents that I've talked to. And I said this over, like, we went into the office and they had his sonogram up on the screen, and they're like, your child has Down syndrome, and it's a boy. And what do you want to do? Do you want to keep your child? And I'm like, well, wait, this is what we came here to talk about? I thought we just came here to talk about, like, what does he need? What do we have to do?
Right.
My first question was, like, can I still breastfeed? Like, what? Like, I'm thinking I have to get, like, equipment for
Right. The planner in you is thinking ahead.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like, what do I need in my house? Like, how do I do this? But they just really wanted to know, like, do you want this child? And I was like, this is horrible. And I remember just busting out crying. Like, this is not how I pictured it. And I remember asking them, like, do you have a family I can talk to, specifically a Black family I can talk to? And they were like, no. And that was, like, the end of the entire meeting. They gave me pamphlets. And
They had no one for you to talk to?
no one. No one. And I took that, like, this really can't be the end of it. Like, I don't understand how you don't have any family, and we were, I mean, I'm in, like, the DMV area. I'm not in some far place that, you know,
Right.
businesses, families, everything. And then I remember going home and getting on the internet, which we all tend to do, and Google for groups and things like that. And I found an awesome group on Facebook. And then I also found my church, which has a special needs ministry, which is awesome. And I found a lot of support there. And I remember going back to that facility, and after Anian was born, and sending them pictures and saying, you know, this is who he is. We had our feet, and if you have any family that needs the support like I did and you didn't have, let me know. Send them to me.
Well, the chances are they probably had families that they knew of. They just don't really give those options there to them. There's one option, and you chose not to do that one.
Right. So that's not, like, my story is not a special story. This is a story that parents tell.
Yeah.
And it's trying to happen where we educate medical professionals on how to deliver a better diagnosis. And that was,
absolutely,
you know, that's the whole point of it. Like, you have to give families choices, yes, but you also can't be negative about the entire thing.
Right.
Where they go wrong.
It's really tough. And that, you know, we had another guest who was another absolutely amazing Black mom with a diagnosis at 26 years old, her first child, and they were trying to get her to terminate as well. And they told her, you know, 80% of people do. And she was like, so, like, that she'd be going against the grain if she didn't. And she was like, what? Like, I'm not doing that. But it was, you're right, no positive options, no, we're sending you, you know, getting you the help that you need, even though knowing that there's all these great places out there that can help. And again, we never sugarcoat. Like, we get so many parents here at GiGi's with a prenatal diagnosis, and we never sugarcoat and say life's going to be easy, because it's not easy for any of our kids. It's not easy for any of our kids. But we do let them know that we're going to give them all the tools that they need, and when they need that help, we are here to support them, to lift them up, to empower them to be the amazing parents that they can be. You know, if they could just, you know, lead people that way and let them make their own decision, it would be a much better world for all of us. But again, that kind of leads into more of that systemic discrimination, showing that they're, you know, 80% of people terminate, so they're not worthy. They're not, you know, they're disposable. They don't need to be here. And it's just another form of that discrimination that, you know, makes it that much harder. And then you found it when you went to go in search of books of kids that look like your child. You know, it's hard enough to find books on Down syndrome alone, you know, the kids book, that a great kids book, but then with any kids of color and different races and stuff, I mean, like, it is tough. And I'm so proud of you that you back then stepped it up. You know, a lot of times people jump in when something's popular and something's going on. You were doing this way before, you know, everybody else was really jumping in the way they are today, which is awesome, which just is amazing. I think that your family must be so proud. Your kids must be so proud of everything that you're doing to represent.
My girls are excited to read the book. Like, if they have a book log, a reading log, or a chance to read it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, mommy, you wrote this book," and I'm like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna write a book about YouTube too."
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So
I think adding that sibling component would be a really cool one.
Oh yeah, definitely, because they're a huge part of his life. They have their own personality, so I just kind of wanted to give them that space too. But yeah, they're huge. They're completely different. They're opposites. If you can ever think of siblings being complete opposites. So they each lend something different to his life. I have my 10-year-old who is Avon, and she's more of, I'm going to play with you. You're my buddy. You can hang out. We eat snacks in the bed, get in trouble together, fight together. So that. And then I have my almost 9-year-old Cree, who is more like a mom type. And she's who helps him brush his teeth and feeds him and, does and wants to buy things for him at the store and keeps him calm.
Yes.
That one. Complete opposite. And it works.
I love it. And they learn so much. I mean, when I think about my kids and how much GiGi learns from them, right? Don't you learn a lot from your siblings?
Yeah.
A lot good and bad?
Yeah, enough have been the best influence, but
yeah, absolutely.
But I will say it's so interesting that you say that, Meeka, because I feel like that's kind of the same with a lot of families that have multiple kids with Down syndrome that have multiple siblings. Is that there's more of like the one that's like very nurturing, and then there's the one that's kind of like creates like the chaos and like all the playing and stuff. So like me, there's no doubt I am Gigi's like protector. Like I'm such like a protective big brother. Like I like. I'm constantly like just like being overly nice to her and giving her things and making sure
and
that
hanging out with her and doing everything amazing, right? He's amazing, brother.
But then Bella, on the other hand, and Romy are more of the ones that are like kind of like a rambunctious type that kind of like make things just like chaotic in the house and are like just having GiGi do like the most fun, crazy things. I mean, I do too, but at the end of the day, it's like there's that side and then there's the other side, and I feel like it has to be a common thing in most families, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah. It's awesome.
That's different because you just get to decide, like, if he's hanging out. I know he's always good, but it's like which good is it? Everything, or is he good because he's nice and he has a snack and free his bed lunch and he's catering to him? So whichever good he is, I know he's always good.
What is like writing a book?
So, it's a journey. I mean, honestly, because I'm trying to get started on the third book. I already have the whole concept, and it's just, you just have to put pencil to paper. But the first time I wrote, it was very, I won't say it was easy, because it was the first time I was writing, and in order to put your story together and make it interesting, make it not long or boring, because you got to think these are children who are reading these mostly. And even I love to read, but I know by like the first, second page if that's the book for me or not.
So true.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that it was something good, but it was also just about him. And I remember us saying, if nothing ever happens, we wrote a book for him. So to write like that and to be free to write without it being something that, and I honor all, professional authors and things like that, but also being able just to be free to write, just to, have that goal to educate, to empower, to bring awareness. It's a different type of writing for me. It's more exciting, and I'm not necessarily stressed about the end result, so to speak, because I just wanted to get out to the masses. I'm not thinking about sales. I'm not thinking about marketing, even though I do have to think about those things, but those are not like at the forefront because I'm just writing from a passion that I have for him and for everyone who has Down syndrome and for our Black and brown people who have Down syndrome where we haven't been seen. So it's more of like a mission for me. Yeah. So it's fun because I get to kind of bounce the stories off of the other kids too, to see like, you like this or are you in it or whatever.
Yeah, right.
So not as stressful as I'm sure it possibly could be. So I had a good time doing it.
I like to read. My favorite books is the mysterious books.
Oh, mysteries? Oh, yeah. She likes mysteries.
Ooh, mysteries. Yeah, I like mysteries too. And I love to listen to mysteries like on, if you've ever read a book, on CD, like just to listen to it.
Yeah.
because of the music is in it and all of the
Yeah.
suspense.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of scary things.
Yes, she does. All right.
Do you draw the pictures for the
No.
photo too?
No, I didn't draw the pictures. I am not that skilled. So we had an illustrator. So the book looked different, as you can see. So the first illustrator we had, awesome illustrator, and I worked with like a team of people to kind of help me understand how the process is to write the book. And so they had a lot of people that came through. So he did the first book, and then the second illustrator was really, that's the first one.
And look at it now. It's a new
Okay.
one.
Yeah, and so the
And
second
new one.
illustrator is someone I found on my own with the help of my friend who also has her as his illustrator. And she's a children's author as well. And it just popped for me. Cameron Wilson just took the vision and just went with it. And he added all these aspects of like the characters looking like us, which I really wasn't thinking of.
Right. I love it.
Like I was like, oh, I just wanted to look like him. So he was able to like look through my social media and find all these pictures, and the girls look like the girls, my husband, me, and I was like, oh, perfect.
That's really cool.
That's the way to do it.
Yes.
Because that tells the real story, the real you.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the rest of the book will have him. And I was also thinking like, ooh, should I do this first book over? And everyone's like, no, just leave it. That's like your first one. And I'm like, okay.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
I like to draw too. I will give you something for you. And for him too.
Oh, she's going to draw. She likes to draw too, so she's going to draw something for you guys. That would be great, Gigi.
Thank
That
you.
would be awesome.
I'll make a cute one.
You'll make it a cute one?
Yeah.
All right. So
Small art is one that helps.
So in this time, like with everything going on with the social justice and activism, so many voices are coming up for so many different areas, whether it's race, gender, it doesn't matter what it is. There's so much going on. I still feel like our special needs community is not being heard. And how do you feel about that? Do you feel like we're, in looking at all of this and hearing where people are investing and where they want the money, where they want funding to go to bring awareness to different things, whether it be gender or race. You're not hearing about bringing money to disabilities or, and I'm just wondering how you feel about that, what you're thinking about that, and where you're at, because it's especially like you said, and actually our other guest who was that young mom, that young black mom who's amazing. And it's weird, like you know how we say with our kids with Down syndrome, so we never describe our kids with Down syndrome by their diagnosis, but I feel like when I say black mom, is that offensive?
No, I'm a black mom, so I'm not.
Okay, good. That's the way I look at it. But then I go, oh my gosh, people get offended when we say a Down syndrome child. When you say something first, you're first a mom, and then but then I'm like, I don't know. I just want to be correct. I don't want to, that's what it is. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm asking. But so she was an awesome, but she was talking about how not only did she feel alone because the doctor said 80% of, told her like, well, you're going to be the 20%, like 80% of people, terminate these pregnancies, that they're unwanted. And then she was saying she also felt alone in the black community, that a lot of, she had a hard time. She found that a lot of times in the black communities, they keep their kids with special needs or with Down syndrome close to home, maybe just, involved in their church, but not so much out in the public. They don't celebrate them like they do in other areas. And I was like, that was so interesting, because I've always said that with Gigi's too, that I'm always like, I feel like proportionately, we weren't reaching the black population like I always wanted to. Like, we built this with free programs for everybody. The reason we work so hard to keep everything free is it's for everybody. No matter where you are in life, there's no reason you can't get free literacy tutoring, math tutoring, speech therapy, physical therapy. Like, everything is free. But there's still a lot of culturally places that we're not reaching, and some of it is in different parts of the country or different parts of the world, but just culturally Down syndrome is in a different place. And I was not surprised when she told me that today, but just really it really made sense to me, and I just wondered if you have felt that.
Yeah, that's similar. Especially with just disability not being at the forefront of many issues. It's always in the back. And I know that I try to do what I can. So, for instance, like in my profession, I'm an HR professional. And we always talk about diversity, inclusion, justice, equity. And I always question, what about how people come into the office? Do we have doors for anyone that's in, a wheelchair? Do we have the ability to supply equipment to someone who might have, need something extra for their keyboard or anything like that? And the answer is always like, oh, we didn't think about that. And I'm like, well, you're othering a whole another population and you don't even realize that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And especially for us, like you were saying, like, is it offensive to say like Black mom versus people being offended about it, being someone that says Down syndrome first as they're describing their children. But I think that's because Down syndrome is not seen as something that's positive all the time. So people are like, don't do that with the diagnosis. In the other instance, being a Black person is absolutely wonderful.
Totally.
So,
that makes sense.
yeah,
I totally get it. Oh, that makes me feel so much better. That makes, because to me it was always like, well, that's what she is and she's awesome. So it was never a negative to me. But I feel like in the world now I get scared that I'm going to offend somebody or hurt somebody because I love everybody. I love everybody the same. And so when now you hear all this other stuff going on, that makes me so happy that you say that because I agree with you so 100%. I love that explanation. Thank you so much for that.
And I think some people would prefer something else, and that's when you just kind of ask the question. You know what I mean? Just
right.
say it, so you know, because it's not the same. So we have to really cater to how they want to be addressed.
Totally.
And be understanding with that correction. But I think we have a lot of work to do to understand what's necessary and needed in our space, and especially in particular Down syndrome community, because as Down syndrome is like the most common chromosomal abnormality or condition.
Yeah.
They're the most underfunded as well.
Yeah.
So you have to think
Ridiculous.
like, what is the determining factor, and how can we help like our local government, our federal government, our state government try to understand that? And that's about building connections. And same thing with GiGi Playhouse. If you don't have a lot of people come in there that are Black or BIPOC, then you build those connections. I don't have to be intentional about it, because people have reached out to me and said, oh, hey, can I have your son on my blog or my paper? And I go, oh, well, what is it? And they tell me, oh, it's something for the community, da-da-da. And I'm going, okay, so are you accessible for every community? Are you building those relationships? Because I'm not going to have him just be a picture.
Exactly.
So what to do? And it was a while ago, someone actually reached out to me about their community thing. And of course, it was nonprofit. You want to help, but they're asking for pictures. And I'm like, you haven't built anything.
Yeah.
So I can't just pictures. And they never responded back. They were just like, okay, never mind.
Well,
but I wanted, I'm like, you have to build these relationships. They're not going to come out of thin air.
Yep.
And it's best build, because then when you see someone that looks like you, you're more apt to go in. So you have to be intentional about these things and purposeful, and in a mode of learning too, because it's not always easy. If there's always been organizations or institutions that's been primarily white led, to then say, okay, we're going to have diversity. Sometimes they do it the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, here, let me use your son's picture, so I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to walk the walk. You have to walk the walk, for sure. Wow.
And we're not.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get there, girl. I mean, it's a process, and sometimes somebody was talking about something. They said baby steps. I said not baby steps anymore. I'm done with baby steps. I am knocking. That's it. No more baby steps. Why the hell do we have to take baby steps? Other groups aren't going to have to take baby steps. They get out there and say, in your face, this is wrong. It is time for us to say, in your face, this is wrong. And that's, I am so fired up about this. And I think it's because I started realizing what systemic discrimination is based on so many policies that are put in place that knock our kids down, that people can't help it that they're this way. Like, with our kids being in separate hallways in school. That just implies they don't belong with the rest of us, and that's why they don't hang out with them. There's so many pieces to this. Like, I feel like I don't want people to apologize. I just want to say, it's okay. Let's just change it. Let's just not use the R word. It is not okay to use that word. Let's be accepting. They've been taught that 80% of them are terminated. They're not worthy. They shouldn't be here. That's what they've been taught. It's not their fault, but let's change that. You know, they can't get organ transplants. They don't have to get paid legally. They don't have to be paid minimum wage. Let's change that. These are all things we can change, and as we change it, it will bring that awareness and hopefully bring them some respect and some. I mean, which is exactly what they deserve. And this whole less than mentality that they are not who, you know, they are not worthy of that organ, or they're not worthy of minimum wage, or they're not even worthy to be born. That they can be terminated at a full term baby in some of our states just because they have Down syndrome. Like, it's time. You know what? I'm done with baby steps, Meeka girl. I am ready to fight it out there. So we're going to be doing a lot in these next few years.
Yes, we are. And we
Hang on tight.
Yeah, and we have a wonderful, wonderful self-advocates that I've met over the years. So, like GiGi is one of them. You know what I mean? I went to the Walk on Washington, and it's just so powerful because I always believe that a single person tells their story better than someone else telling it for them.
Yes.
If they can speak it, tell your story, and that's the most important thing. But you didn't see this years and years and years ago. You didn't see self-advocates. You didn't see organizations like this stepping up or fighting or bringing. It was more like, you know, kind of in the shadows. And, you know, regarding the Black community, majority or I hope this is not the same going forward, but usually it's something that, you know, you keep within the family. It's not something that someone always seeks out resources for, and that's what I try to let people know. There's a lot of resources and things out here, and it doesn't mean this has to be every single thing you do.
You're right.
You know, if you want to go to the walk, you don't have to do anything.
No.
But just, you know, take the resources that are available. Seek out those things that can help your child be the child that they're supposed to be.
The best he could be. Yeah. Celebrate that diagnosis and put him out there and challenge him every single day. Every single day.
Every single day. And to build something. So I'm just trying to do my part and actually trying to do my part with the Black community, and possibly in the future, like have like our Black family reunion where we can see all these wonderful babies.
Yeah.
Event. So that's something that this is the tiny part that I'm trying to do.
I love the way that you're like going about this too. When you're talking about, Meeka, about the self-advocates and how it's becoming such more of a prevalent thing nowadays because people have platforms and you can actually be someone that's just experiencing this every day, and you can have, with social media and things like that, you can actually have a platform to do it. But I love the fact that you created this book because you're starting this conditioning in children's minds from a young age of being like, all right, here is representation. This is not just a kid like like any of those kids books that you just can remember from when you're a child. Like they're all like very much the same thing. With this, it's like you have kind of taken it in a similar direction that most children's books are, but you actually have the proper representation in there. Yes. And it's when kids read it now, they're going to be like, oh, like, I know there's a kid in my class that has Down syndrome. Like, I know exactly who they're talking about. And it's like going through what his daily life is. Like, he likes going to the grocery store with me. Like, he likes playing with his sisters. Like, it's the just exact same thing that I like doing. So it's not as marginalizing to these children when they see it. So I absolutely love that you took that step, just because you can always, it's not as easy when you're telling adults that, like, we need to change right now, because they've like we were saying earlier, they've had this condition their entire life where the value on individuals with disabilities isn't necessarily as high based off of how some policies in society are placed. So the fact that you're targeting that younger audience, that next generation, is what's going to be so powerful. And I think that's how we need to keep our focus, is keep that in mind, is that the ones that the future are the youth, and that those are the ones that you need to actually talk with this about and start that conversation,
because it's so hard to change people's thinkings. You know, when they're older, their whole lives have been lived one way, and trying to. But you know what? We got a whole new group of people. You know, all these babies, all these kids, all these children. The future of our world and where our kids are going to grow up in. And let's start with them. Let's start with the easy change by just doing something like writing an amazing book. And that's just what I think. You know, it's such, and it seems like it's a book, and you know, when you look at it, you're like, this book is going to go on and on and on and change the minds of so many people. So, you know, you look at one book and what that can do. It's just that ripple effect of how many lives you're going to change, Meeka. So As you know, our podcast is called A Little Something Extra. And what do you think is your something extra? What is your, what drives you? You know, what is your passion? What is your something extra that makes you who you are?
You know what? I think it's just me just having that heart to help people. Like I'm in HR, which, you know, we help people, but just kind of really trying to help families and children and do what I can. Like I feel like I have my own lane, so to speak.
Yeah.
I can't do what you do. I can't do what somebody else does. I can only do what I do. And I feel like me being able to reach out to the community, especially with these books and having an idea and kind of taking it and having a vision, I feel like that's my little something extra because I want to do so much more and I try to take on so much more that one thing at a time. But that's the thing. Like you said, like with the book, I just wanted to be like an everyday life with Anian. I didn't want it to be, this is him. That's why it's easy to kind of write because these are the things that he goes through.
Yep.
But like Franco said, it's targeting children. It's showing how he is as a child, and it's a story, and you can kind of dive into it and go, oh, and he has Down syndrome. Oh, so yes, I have someone like that in my school or someone I know in my neighborhood, and it just makes it all real and just very, just normal. Just
Normal.
like
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like that my just want to reach out to so many I can through the words that I write.
If you had one message to the world, what will it be?
Oh, to the whole world. So, I had this particular statement before that someone kind of mentioned, and it was like, what if we did? You know, what if we had it easy for children in school? What if we didn't kind of block them from our education, healthcare, resources? Just what if we did easily accept people into our community and didn't discriminate on anything? You know, like what if we just did? There's so many things that, you know, our families have barriers to, especially when it comes time to come to school. And it's always these, oh, no, we can't do that. Oh, this is hard to do this. Oh, and it's like, what if we just did? What if
Yes.
put them in class with everyone else? What if we did just for all the opportunities? What if we did just let them on the same opportunity basketball team, you know, kung fu classes, gymnastics classes, and it didn't have to be something special where we have to pull teachers to the side and say, oh, well, this is just what if we did? Just let them go ahead and conquer the world and get all the opportunities they can. And what if we did just place all of our hope and our expectations on the things that we know that they can do? And just what if we did not limit them? That's it. Let's just do that.
I love that.
That is awesome. And you know what the answer is to what if we did? We would be living in a lot different of a world.
Yeah.
It would be a much
A
different
much better
place.
world.
Without a doubt. There'd be so
Wow.
much more acceptance.
That
Yeah.
was awesome, Meeka. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, for writing your books, for changing the world, girl. Like, keep it going. You and I are going to get together and do more things. We're going to get your next book out. I want to make sure that we could get it out to as many places as we can across this world and show the world that everybody deserves to be accepted just as they are.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you so much, GiGi. And I've watched all of our older young adults with Down syndrome. I watch like what you do and how you navigate the world, and that just gives me hope. And it's more like, well, wait a minute, she did it, you can do it too. So I definitely watch because I'm learning still as well.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And we are so happy to have had you on our show and that we met you last year and that we've been able to share your message at every GiGi's Playhouse. We will continue to do that and spread your message near and far, girl. We're so proud of you. And thank you so much for being on the show. And we'll have you back after, you know, when you get that series going. We know this is just the beginning for you, sister. I can't wait to see where you're going to go. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for being here. You are a blessing. We're just so honored to have you and have your books in our playhouses, and we will connect soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for
Thank
continuing to
you,
live
Meeka.
Generation G. Get it out there, G. Generation G.
Well, mine is.
Have a good one, Meeka. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Wow, that was awesome. Meeka is so inspiring and stepping up where she saw a need. And any one of us can do that because we see injustice every day. We see things that need to be done every day. Let's find something and just jump in. I hope everyone out there was inspired today and that they will jump in. Think about differences and how you could make them better, how you can be more accepting, and just think about your little something extra and use that to dig deep and change the world. So get on out there, be Generation G, right, G?
Right. Be accepting, be kind.
Hey, I'd say that's probably a pretty good tip.
Do you say tips?
I did say tips.
Tips!
Woo!
Today's tip are about accepting people. Always give someone a chance. If you don't give someone a chance, you miss out. Never judge a book by its cover. People who may appear to be different can be your best friends. The more people you give a chance, the more friends you'll have. Life is always happy when we have friends to share it with.
My tips.
Those are my tips.
So remember, be Generation G, a conscious decision to be better every day. Put your G on your hand, post it on social media, and live it. Right, Gigi?
Right.
All right, we will see you next time on A Little Something Extra with Nancy and Gigi. Have a great week. Peace out.